If you have just installed Vray for SketchUp, this video will teach you the fundamental aspect needed to create photorealistic renders. This video covers what you will learn about the Vray interface, setting up a scene from a 3D model, using lighting to enhance your render's realism, creating realistic material for objects, configuring Vray setting for optimal speed and quality, and lastly, rendering. So let's get started. I have created here a simple 3D model of a still life and provided a link to it for those who want to follow along with the tutorial. However, I recommend you following the steps carefully in order to fully understand the process. Let's move on to the Vray interface. So let's start with the user interface. What you'll see once you install Vray, and it is here in the left corner of my screen. The Vray interface has two main parts: the menus and the Vray asset editor. The menus located at the top of the screen where you're seeing right now, and let you do the things like add lights, create materials, and render your scene. They're like a toolbox where you can find all the tools you need to create your render. And if you do not see this in your SketchUp, you might find it here in the top tab. Right click here and just make sure that the Vray for SketchUp is checked. Next is the Vray asset editor. On the other hand, it is where you'll find all the settings to make your scene look amazing. After you open the Vray asset editor, you can see these different organized tabs. The tab includes the material tab, where you click and edit material. Just click this right arrow button and the material editor will pop up. Here you can edit various things in materials such as reflection, refraction, opacity, and many more. Next is the light tab. This includes setting for the lights in your scene such as the sun, sky, the artificial lights. Here you can adjust the intensity, color, and other properties of each light. Next up is the geometry tab. This includes the setting for the objects in your scene. You can add materials to objects, adjust the opacity, and other properties. The render element tab. This includes setting for adding additional channel to your render, such as separate channel for reflections or shadows. The texture tab in Vray Asset Editor allows you to manage and create texture that you can use in your Vray materials. The setting tab is Vray Asset Editors. This allows you to adjust the render setting of your scene, including the image output, lighting, camera settings, and many more. In this place, you can choose whether you want to use your CPU or GPU or both in rendering your image. The GPU option utilizes RTX technology for faster rendering. And one of the most favorite is this, the render button, where you can render the scene that is given in the SketchUp preview, of course. Lastly is the Vray frame buffer, where you can view your recent renders, and you can use this to adjust something like your brightness, color corrections, and many more. Now that you know the basic interface of Vray, we can now utilize the knowledge you have gained and apply it to our 3D model. Setting up a scene from a 3D model. The first thing you need to do is to position your camera. I will click this front view button in SketchUp and use the SketchUp navigation tool to position your camera where you want it to be. This bothers me. I'll place these Vray tools in the upper tab to make the workplace neat by dragging it up. There we go. Now let us adjust the camera view by using the scroll button. I might want to move this a bit here. That looks great. Now I'm going to use the zoom tool by clicking the Z or zoom in the toolbar and make sure the field of view is somewhere 35 degree to 50 degree. So to move the field of view, I'm going to click shift, left click at the same time, and you can see the numbers below I just said. I'll make this about 35 degree just for this video. Let me angle this a bit. So to add scene to your model, you can see this scene tab in the tray. Just click this and click the add scene, the plus button. SketchUp will automatically capture the last preview from your screen. And even if you move the camera view away and you can click back to your scene, you can always retrieve the scene you wanted to render. Now, if you want to add another scene but in different angle, just move your desired camera angle and click the plus button. You'll see the difference between these two scenes. So, after getting your desired scene, one of the most important thing on creating photorealistic render is setting up your lighting. Talking about lighting, the first thing to understand about lighting in Vray is that it is all about creating a realistic and natural looking environment. Vray offers several types of light to achieve this, including light gen, rectangle light, sphere light, spotlight, lash light, omni-light, dome light, and there's still more. But now, we'll be focusing spotlight in this video because spotlight are best used in creating sharp focus lighting effects. They are ideal for highlighting specific areas of your scene, such as a feature wall or a piece of furniture, like this still life object. I will not be tackling about the other types of light since we are just focusing in creating this still life object by using a spotlight. So let us set this up. Click the spotlight and it will automatically be in your arrow. I first will place the first light here. Oh, by the way, I'm going to use the 3-point light technique to achieve balance in lighting setup. I'm gonna place 2 lights here in the right and 1 somewhere here in the left. So let's do this. Click here in the corner and click arrow up key and drag it up in the blue axis. Let's make this pointing here in the object, as well as here in the top view axis. Another light here just to do the same. Make this light pointing toward the subject. If the last light is in the left side, I'll make a distance of 2 meters, I guess. Yeah, 2 meters. And drag towards the blue axis. Point this as well to the subject. Yeah, we have the lighting. We can go back to our scene 1. So the next thing to adjust is the light intensity. Let's go to Vray Asset Editor and click the bulb thingy-bob, which is the light setting button. The first thing you will want to do is adjust the sunlight intensity to 0 because you will not use it at this rendering. Now let us click the spotlight, the light from the left, and it will automatically reflect on the Vray Asset Editor. Now adjust it, and I will adjust this to 250K. Also adjust the cone angle and the penumbral angle to your desired setting. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna post another video for lighting tutorial sooner. Now let us click the other 2 lights. This one I will make this 70K. I don't think if that is lumens, but I'll just experiment some stuff here what I think works. Let us edit this one as well. I'm gonna use weaker light here like 50K. Now going back in the scene 1 we've created, I would like to check how the light affects everything in this model. And let us open again Vray Asset Editor and go to the settings first. Let's make the quality low and make the render output somewhere like 800 by 1000 pixels. And the aspect ratio to portrait. And make sure to turn on the material override since we have no material in the model yet. Let us click render. As you can see, it is a bit dark but it is fine. We can fix that. Let us save this first in our history, here in the left side. And if you do not have this in your Vray, you can check it here in the options. And go to VFB settings. Click here in the history and you can enable that to show the history settings. Moving on is adding materials to the model. Let us try experimenting adding some materials. If you have Chaos Cosmos, it will be easier to make your render look great because it has materials and texture that are designed to work seamlessly with Vray. So I'm going to use it for the texturing of my furniture, like this wood here. You can use the basic wood material from the SketchUp if you don't have this, since this is just optional. I'm going to use this wood, import it, and it will automatically pop up in the materials in the model library. Here it is. Then just click the materials and click it in the object you want, like this table here. Now I'm gonna do the same for the walls, like this stucco white. Edit the color here in SketchUp, make it a bit gray for some personal style. For the glass, I will use the given SketchUp texture using the glass materials. I'ma use this translucent gray glass. Let us edit these materials and make the coloring white. And for the wine, I separated some objects given. I'll add some color close to the wine. And there it is. Make this darker. After that, let us open Vray Asset Editor to edit out our materials. Let us edit this first, the cap wrap, the wrap of the bottle. Let us adjust the reflection color to somewhere white and make sure to use glossiness for this material. For this material, which is for the wine, I rename it first to be organized and make the material looking like a liquid. Adjust the reflectivity and a bit of refraction. Now for the translucent glass, edit out its reflection, max it out and its refraction to all white to make it look like a glass texture. For the wall, I'm not gonna adjust anything. Also for the wood, I'm just gonna add bump and a bit of reflection. And voila! We are done with the materials. Now that we're done with the materials, before clicking and rendering anything, in this part, the Vray render setting is the most crucial part of achieving high quality and realistic render in Vray. Before we render this, I have forgotten something that we need to adjust the lighting tone and pinaural angle to make it more reflective to the subject. Now for the Vray settings, this is the most important aspect to look at. Firstly, what render engine you are to use. Next up is the render quality. Let us set this to medium. And for the camera, adjust the exposure to somewhere like 12.8. If you want higher quality, let us add more render output like this one to mine, 1920 to 2400. And don't forget to undock the material override. Now, let us just wait for this render. Rendering may take up some time, depending on many aspects. Now that you have the final render, you can save this in your history. And if you want to save this in your storage, just click here and find some place to stock this up.